Nikki, Principal of Animal Magic Training here in Norfolk, UK, and I hope this video reaches your animals, furred, finned, feathered, and yourselves very well indeed. I'm creating a series of films, each one related to holistic animal medicine, be it herbs, essential oils, crystals, Reiki, meridian work, animal communication, and so on and so forth. The videos aim to be instructional and also informational videos to help you get the best out of your animal therapy sessions. Choose what modality that you actually are qualified to undertake with animal magic training. So I'm starting with herbs. Now, recently in our group, Animal Magic Training students and graduates, in our Facebook group, I offered a poll to you in relation to which herbs you would like me to discuss for what purpose in relation to our canine companions. And you came back with aging canine companions, so herbs that help dogs who maybe are in later life, helping them with zest, vitality, vigor, mobility, etc. So I'm going to highlight 4 herbs that will help dogs in this situation. So we need another way of looking at the human and animal body and plant medicines. Seeing the two as interconnected and in balance is new to industrial culture, so that's the pharmaceutical and pharmacology world. But in reality, it's the most ancient healing model on earth. We knew, even before we were people, how plants were used to medicate both the human and animals, and how animals use them to self-medicate and to self-regulate certain cells within their own body. Examples surround us, from dogs eating grass to bears digging osha root. Probably every human society has had some way of explaining how the body works and how plant medicine work within us. One thing all herbalists know, dogs and bears included, is that a health problem is best treated before it begins. In more primitive societies, where people have the luxury of listening to their own bodies, it's easy to spot an imbalance before it turns into an acute disease state. This is where herbs are most effective. They work at this subclinical level and therefore invisible to industrial medicine. It's the level of imbalance, of deficiency, and also of excess. Their major task is in sustaining and maintaining a healthy organism and, in cases of illness, encouraging that organism to heal itself. So when there's an imbalance in the human or animal body, herbs seek out cells to correct this imbalance and therefore work to heal on most levels. So my own personal medicine chest, and this is what I use for myself and my family, for my own animals, and also for my animal clients. My own medicine chest is a council of bioregions. And what I mean by that is it represents the medicine that I've gathered as I work my way around Norfolk and the UK, teaching foraging techniques, wild medicine identification workshops, whether it's book signing or whether I'm healing animals. So from woodlands, dales, meadows, I can tell a story of the wild medicine, the wild crafted medicine that I have picked, I've dried, I've processed and made a medicine out of that. Each one of the little jars can tell a certain story. So the nettles I have, for instance, in this jar here, were picked from the bottom of my garden. The St John's wort that I have here, I gathered from the country lanes surrounding my home, and the borage from an ancient forest under its woodland canopy. Every single one of the herbs that I hand gather can tell its own story. So, as I mentioned, every jar of herbs, every bottle of tincture, every tea made with fresh herbs holds its own story. However, it's becoming all too apparent nowadays that this is becoming a ghost story. It's a ghost story because our ecosystems are dying. Places are gone forever through overdevelopment and the rape of our countryside and wild meadows for housing development. So where once were abundant euphrasia, which you'll probably have heard of, eyebright, here in Norfolk, I used to harvest it in 7 or 8 places. Now there's only one, and I won't harvest it, so I have to buy euphrasia or eyebright, and this is because of the development, the new houses that are taking over our lovely meadowland, rich pasture land, and our wildflower meadows, and it makes my heart sad. For people not lucky enough to roam throughout the wild meadows and countrysides, so for people who live in cities and such like, they might purchase the herbal preparations already formed, so in things like tinctures or in packet teas. This may be the link to healing connection. However, like so much in this consumerist society, it's easy to ignore the connections between a bottle on a shelf in some store and a living, growing plant out in the wild. There is so much to be said for reconnecting, for educating ourselves about the herbs we use and gathering our own medicine whenever we can. That's how we will be able to build a whole new system of healing, one that can support our movement away from the corporate power structure that the practice of medicine has become. The development of a new medical system, or indeed the recovery of ancient models, is another link in our safety net as industrialism fails humanity. Nature has blessed us with remedies to sustain or restore our health and that of our animals. As humans, we consume, intentionally or unintentionally, foods that contain substances that support our body functions to fight disease. Our immune system is responsible for protecting us from invading foreign organisms. Our skin, which you have to remember is the largest organ, protects us from dehydration and sustains normal temperature under various environmental conditions. Our gastrointestinal tract is made to absorb nutrients to keep us strong and healthy. The liver and the kidneys take care of eliminating waste generated from various bodily functions. And the circulatory system works to transport liquid for nutrients and waste alike and contains the elements of immunity and body defense systems. Then there's the nervous system. This links to all body components, organs, tissues, cells, together in a network that coordinates different functions in a harmonious way. The body as a whole, be it human or animal, is built to function via hormones, molecules that carry signals from one system to another, enzymes, which are also molecules that facilitate chemical reactions, and transformation of chemicals within the cell from one form into another. Neurotransmitters, chemicals by which the nervous system transmits its signals, and others to maintain healthy bodily functions. When illness ensues, the balance of some of these body functions is disturbed, and restoring health means bringing this balance back into its normal state. And this is where the implementation of herbs can help repair, replace, and renew cell structure. Allopathic medicine, known as Western medicine, utilizes drugs and chemicals to restore health. Botanical medicine, however, seeks to restore health by using herbs and their constituents. Herbs, as any other natural system, contain a magnitude of chemicals within them. Some of these chemicals were discovered through trial and error, or by scientific means. The amount of these useful chemicals is just a small fraction of all the compounds that constitute a herb. Thus, these useful components are present in a diluted form within the plant. The pharmaceutical industry recognizes the importance of these components within the plants, and studies are done to isolate or purify these substances and package them with other man-made chemicals into drugs. Many of these natural components of plants are either synthesized in a laboratory and or chemically altered to render them powerful enough to be used as drugs and licensed within the pharmaceutical industry. Botanical medicine, however, uses extracts from plants containing these active components in a diluted and more natural, beneficial, healing form. Now, you've probably heard of foxglove. Within the foxglove is a drug called digitalis, and it's actually the Latin name. This has been used for centuries in heart medication. So they isolated this compound from the foxglove and studies found that it was actually beneficial for the heart. For me, as a master herbalist, one of the most liberating things about herbalism is the ability to walk outside, to pick a plant with my own hands, to use it then to nourish myself and my animals to bring about healing. I call this ethical wildcrafting, and it requires knowledge and respect. Learning your first few plants is the hardest part. Once you can learn to differentiate a few plants, however, from the multitude of other similar looking plants, you'll find that you can't walk around the byways without noticing new plants and familiarising yourself with your own region. A basic region-specific plant guide can be a really useful tool for the beginning forager or the experienced herbalist alike, because you have to bear in mind not all herbs grow in every single county. There'll be an abundance of some and a lack of others. It can be easy to get intimidated by the amount of medicinal and botanical information out there, but don't get discouraged. All you really need to know is a handful of weeds to feed and heal yourself and your dog. If you're just beginning, try picking 5 or 6 plants to learn to identify and really focus on them so as not to overwhelm yourself. When you take walks, try to identify them visually at various points in their growth cycle. Pick a leaf or flower to carry with you and remind yourself. Or take your camera, put it on macro and really zoom into that botanical plant. If it's a mild medicine or food plant, taste it and smell it often, paying attention to how it makes you feel. This will give you a working and intimate knowledge of the plants in your area. So Melissa officinalis, or lemon balm, has a minty lemon fragrance, and it's often used in the preparation of skincare and cosmetic products. Our people in the 1700s, they used it as a cure-all for all things melancholia. So if you were feeling in a low mood, depression, or suffering from stress or anxiety, they would prescribe a tincture of lemon balm or a herbal tea. But for the information within this film, I'm going to focus on using lemon balm for your aging and elderly canines. So lemon balm itself is a very prolific plant. I have several areas in my garden growing. I've got it in full sun, I've got it in part shade, I've got it in full shade, and it still carries on growing and spreading. If you want to take cuttings, it does very, very well, and you can have lots of free plants just from half a dozen cuttings of lemon balm. I use it in my animal therapy clinic and also in my human consultancy. So it contains, amongst other things, volatile oils, tannins and flavonoids. These elements give the herb a number of therapeutic effects, including being calming and relaxing, being antiviral, being antibacterial, muscle relaxing, and has pain relieving effects as well. For dogs, lemon balm can be used for a multitude of health issues for the elderly canine and for the younger dog too, including stress, anxiety, depression, and digestive problems. However, because we're focusing on elderly canines during this film, I'm going to give you information on how it can help your older dog. It can be used to address sleep disorders and reduce agitation and anxiety caused by canine cognitive dysfunction. So in other words, canine dementia. Topically, that's on the skin, it can also be an effective disinfectant for minor cuts and wounds, as well as an effective muscle relaxant for sore joints and aching limbs. So how can you use lemon balm with dogs? Well, there's quite a few ways that our dogs can reap the benefits of this multifaceted herb. The herb can be used, as I've mentioned, orally, that's through the mouth, or topically, that's upon the skin, depending on what your older dog needs. For example, for oral use, you can make a lemon balm tea that's strong enough to be used therapeutically. And how I do this, I would pour 1 cup of boiling water over 2 tablespoons of coarsely chopped fresh lemon balm leaves. Now, there's absolutely no need to wash them beforehand. Just make sure that there's no insects or bugs, and certainly that they haven't been near or present when any pesticides have been sprayed upon the plant or in the surrounding area. And leave them in the hot water for about 20 minutes. You need to cover it because this allows the volatility of the compound to permeate within the steam, so you're getting the best of the herb itself. So wait till it cools, till it's about room temperature. Again, it's about 20 minutes to half an hour. And then give the tea to your dog. You can either add it to your dog's food, or if you're making it a dry and you're making it a wet, you're using a dry material and making it wet, so something that's been dehydrated, or you can give it to your dog in its water, or a combination of the two. Add 1 tablespoon of the tea to 5 kilograms of dog's body weight, and you can give that to your dog 3 times a day. Used topically, this is on the skin, you might wish to make a disinfecting rinse because elderly dog's skin doesn't repair as much as quickly as a younger dog's skin. So they might have lesions or scarring tissue or cuts or bruises that need a little helping hand once they get a little bit older. So freshly brewed lemon balm tea can also be used as a topical disinfectant for minor cuts and other wounds. To make a rinse, this can be effective. What you would need to do to make a rinse is add 1 teaspoon of unrefined and natural sea salt. I use Malden sea salt. To each cup of tea, stir it and wait for it to dissolve. And then simply sponge on with either a sponge or cotton wool onto the animal's body, but making sure it's warm, it's not cold, and it's not too hot. To make a cold compress, and a cold compress are really good things to make when your dog has acute injuries or sprains or muscle soreness. What you need to do is soak a clean cloth, so a clean face flannel or a bit of muslin in the cold tea, and apply, and then hold the compress in place for several minutes. To keep the area cold, soak the compress again and apply, and do this 5 to 6 times. Hot compresses. As mentioned above, lemon balm has muscle relaxing and antispasmodic properties. Therefore, it can be used to help ease aches and pains in your elderly dog caused by chronic conditions like arthritis, hip dysplasia, cruciate issues, or old agility injuries. Make a hot compress again using the lemon balm tea. The tea should be reasonably hot, but not scalding hot. You need to be able to dip your fingers in it yourself to know how hot it is. Soak a washcloth or flannel in the tea. Wring out just enough to stop the dripping. Then apply to the affected area and hold it in place for several minutes. Soak the compress again and reapply as needed, and keep the area warm for 10 to 15 minutes. So unlike the cold compress where you was applying it for 5 to 6 times, the hot compress needs to be held in place for 10 to 15 minutes. Herbal honey. Well, this is one of my favourites as well to make. Since lemon balm is antiviral and antibacterial, and older dogs may suffer with depleted immunity, it's a good herb to make a herbal honey from. This can be used topically to dress wounds or to treat skin infections. It can also be used orally to prevent bacterial and other viral infections, to help with indigestion, and generally boost the immunity. So lots of things there in relation to using lemon balm Melissa officinalis with your dog. Lots of areas you can implement, from the compresses to the teas and to the herbal honey. So one last thing, is lemon balm safe for dogs? Well, lemon balm is an extremely safe herb, and the only contradiction is in large amounts it may interfere with the body's assimilation of iodine and may therefore affect the thyroid gland, and that's a small gland in their throat. However, the amounts of lemon balm used for dogs are not high enough to cause hyperthyroidism in dogs. As with all realms of holistic animal medicine, you must undertake your own research before using. Just because herbalism comes under the umbrella of natural medicine does not mean it's safe for every dog, for every issue, and must be used with caution and with full understanding, especially if your dog is taking prescribed veterinary medicine. Research is imperative when administering herbal medicine to use with those canines we love. And remember, it's not a diagnosis tool, nor a substitute. Therefore, a vet must be always your first point of contact should anything be awry with your animal or causing an issue. Stay well, stay free. Many blessings. Petrosellium crispum is the second herb that I'm going to discuss for your elderly or aging canine, and this is parsley. Now, parsley is very, very good for creating good oral hygiene, so reducing tartar buildup on the teeth and reducing the smell of bad breath in your aging canine. It's also very rich in chlorophyll, and it contains within a cup of parsley 38 milligrams of chlorophyll, and this is good for both animals and humans alike. So the common uses for it: as the dog starts to age, their teeth become more affected by plaque and tartar, and this is the main cause of bad breath. Therefore, parsley can be very beneficial in relation to providing a sweeter breath. However, it has other benefits to your aging canine too. So parsley is considered a powerful diuretic. This may help dogs with arthritis. So aging dogs suffering from arthritis have been linked to having poor waste elimination. So they're holding on to the bodily toxins instead of distributing them through the kidneys and the liver to filter out in their waste. Arthritis can actually be an inflammatory response to the toxins within the body, and parsley contains a large amount of vitamin K, and this may be helpful against the arthritis because studies suggest that vitamin K destroys inflammatory cells. Urinary tract infections. Elderly dogs tend to get these sorts of issues. Because of its diuretic abilities, parsley may be helpful in clearing UTIs. The idea is that the bad bacteria gets flushed out of the bladder because urination is increased. Its then antimicrobial qualities may also be of help against the bacteria causing the infection. Cancer. A 2012 study found that apigeneum found in parsley shows promise as a treatment for an aggressive type of mammary cancer. The apigeneum actually shrank tumours in a group of mice. Parsley contains myricetin, which is a flavonol that's been linked to potentially helping prevent skin cancer. So how do you use this brilliant herb of parsley? It's generally safe in dried, fresh and tea forms, but you must avoid using seeds since they might be toxic to animals in large amounts. For the arthritis, you can make tea of the dried or freshly grated root of parsley. Give 1 to 2 tablespoons of the tea to your dog. You can also give in tincture form, but we'll discuss the making of tinctures within any herba course because it is quite an in-depth process and you need to be exact with your measurements. For urinary issues or as a nutritional boost, you can use in a vegetable form by using it with other vegetables as a natural juice for your animals. You can turn the fresh leaves into a soup, and you'll need to fill the blender with the parsley and add water if you don't have a juicer. You then feed 1 teaspoon per 5 kilogram weight of your dog, preferably on an empty stomach. Or you can also sprinkle a couple of grams of the herb every other day onto your dog's food. So for the third herb, I'm going to speak to you about Mentha piperita, also known as peppermint. So I'm sure at one time or another you've taken a peppermint tea when you've had an upset stomach, or you've been having a gastric episode. This is fantastic because it calms and soothes the digestive tract. But it's not what I'm going to be using peppermint for our aging and elderly canine companions. I'm going to use it for cognitive functioning, which I'll explain shortly. Peppermint leaves contain essential nutrients such as vitamins A, C, flavonoids, rosmarinic acid and iron, and all of the above are used to keep our dog healthy and well. However, peppermint, it's one of the herbs that we must use with caution around our dogs. So it's not to be used freely. We need to do extensive research when using or implementing peppermint within a herbal medicine canine treatment plan. So the main benefits of using peppermint: it's for an upset stomach, it's used in flea and tick prevention treatments. It can be used as a nutritional supplement, it's used for relaxation and also for many fungal skin issues. But I'm going to speak to you today about using it for a neurological or cognitive function area, and it's to be used as a stimulant. So in relation to elderly dogs, peppermint acts as a mental stimulant, which in turn creates a desire and a stimulus for wanting to maybe be more active, or it can be used as an appetite stimulant, you know, if a dog's suffering lethargy and just generally out of it, a lack of energy. Peppermint is fantastic to be given to your dog in these sorts of circumstances. It must be used with caution, as I've already highlighted. It must be used on an individual basis and it needs to be heavily researched before use. The leaves are the safest part of the plant to use, and just 0.5 gram every other day can show results quite quickly. So peppermint leaves are full of antioxidants. They're anti-inflammatory, anti-tumour, anti-allergenic and antibacterial and antiviral as well. And as I said, the leaves are the safest form of peppermint for your dog. But just 0.5 gram every other day is absolutely adequate. But again, you must do your own research. Dogs who have eaten more than this can suffer upset stomach and also diarrhea, so we need to be using peppermint with caution. How I use it, I would sprinkle on food, that's either wet or dry food, but ensure that your dog has water, because it is quite a dry leaf in itself, so your dog will need moisture after ingesting dried peppermint leaves. And the fourth area that I'm going to cover on this particular film in relation to treating aging and elderly canines with herbal medicine is not actually a herb in itself, it's a spice, and it's curcuma longa, also known as turmeric. It grows wild in South and Southeast Asia, but it's also extensively cultivated around the world. Now, turmeric, you can have it in a root, as I've used turmeric root to dye muslin and natural cloth. So I've used it as a natural dye, and I use a turmeric root. It gives a lovely smoky orange colour to cloth. Or you can grate it. If you dry the root, you can grate it and have it within your own tea. But for dogs, it's really better absorbed when it's given as a powder. And the powder basically consists of the rhizome, or the swollen underground stem, which is dried and then used in powdered form. Turmeric doesn't assimilate well into the body on its own. It's a fat binder. So you must bear in mind that when feeding your dog turmeric, you must have it with a fat product as well. So you need to be mixing the powder in the a fatty paste. So I tell you how to make a golden paste and the administration dose on Annie Herber. So more information about that course can be found on www.animalmagictraining.com. But for now, I'm just going to go into the basics of turmeric and the benefits of feeding your elderly dog turmeric powder. Now, I always buy organic. I buy organic in whatever I buy. 95% of my diet is organic and 100% of my dog's diet is organic. So if you can get organic turmeric, you're already halfway there. The cheaper turmeric brands and some of the well-known brands of turmeric have actually got red dyes in to make them look more appealing, but the active ingredients are lesser than the organic versions. So if you can get a trusted source of an organic turmeric, then you're doing really well. So why might our elderly and aging canine companions need turmeric? Well, studies and continuous studies, it's been really well documented and researched, has turmeric, has shown that it actually inhibits the growth of cancer cells. It slows down the growth of tumours. And it's also a natural anti-inflammatory agent. And so often when we take our dogs to the vet when they're, stiff or they've got inflammation in anywhere in the body, they're prescribed steroids. Now, steroids are okay in the short term, but for me, I wouldn't want my dog on steroid medication for the longer term, because not only does it cause lesions and scarring on soft tissue, it also contributes towards other health and dis-ease within the animal too. So I would always try turmeric if at all possible. Also, I try and make it as a golden paste. And as I mentioned, I would give a minimal amount to start with. Never start on a high dose. Always work your way up to see how it's assimilated and processed within that dog's body. Not all dogs will like turmeric. It tastes very, very earthy. And it's an acquired taste, I think, and it's very, very different to the meat products that your dog will be used to ingesting. So perseverance is key when using turmeric, but it's one of the finest things that you can use for inflammation and also for keeping cancer at bay. I hope you've enjoyed watching this film as much as I've enjoyed recording it. There are many more films that I've recorded which cover various elements of holistic animal therapy, including Soul Speak animal communication, animal magic healing, animal Reiki, Annie Herber, Annie Roma, which is essential oil therapy, meridian work, crystal therapy for animals, building an animal therapy business. So all things to all people. Everything within the sphere of holistic animal medicine. And please remember, a large number of herbs are highly toxic to dogs. Some are extremely safe. As with all realms of holistic animal medicine, you must undertake your own research. Just because herbalism comes under the umbrella of natural medicine does not mean it's safe for every dog, for every issue, and it must be used with caution and with full understanding of symptom and of herbal usage. Research is imperative when administering herbal medicine to those canines that we love. Remember, it's not a diagnosis tool, nor a substitute. Therefore, a vet must always be your first point of contact. If you wish to train as a professional canine herbalist or in any other sphere of holistic animal medicine, then please see www.animalmagictraining.com. Thank you for watching. Many blessings from myself and the animals. Take care, stay free. Bye-bye.